my mountain bike bridge made out of pallets. So I'll show you a few things how I put it together, how simple it was, how cheap it was, and why you should make some connections at some place that has a warehouse. So first off, you can tell it's far from perfect, and that's not really what I was going for. So it may not look that stable, and yeah, I mean, it definitely wouldn't if I just was to see it and look at that. You know, it looks like it was just thrown together really quickly, which it was, and with minimal effort, which it definitely was because I'm lazy. But I didn't really want to make something that was permanent, and I want to be able to just pull this out if I wanted to, if it was messing up. This whole stream here, which fills up quite a bit. Right now it's completely dry, but this fills up here, and I didn't want to like dam this up if that's what was going to happen. And that fills up quite a bit down there into almost like a marshy pond, you know, maybe like 3 feet deep. So that's mainly the reason I haven't put it together completely. But right now it functions well enough to where I probably won't even bother. So right now I'm just going to walk across it just to show you how stable it is. So right there I just tried to step on every piece of pallet, and clearly it's not budging. Really all I did was just throw a bunch of rocks underneath everything, just take a bunch of the fairly flat rocks around here and just kind of shim them all together, make it all uniform as much as I possibly could. What's cool is the surrounding area had just a lot of really thin, flat rocks just laying around. And I didn't really want to pull up too much, but you know, I pulled up what I had to get the bridge as stable as possible. And like I said, if it starts messing with, like, here's another flat one. If it starts messing with, you know, how much this fills up, and if it creates a dam, then, you know, I'll pull it all apart, and then I'll just have to deal with it and get better at biking. But right now, it's just made for, like, I would say intermediate bikers. You know, people that aren't afraid to go across something that wide, which it's fairly wide. It's not like you're riding across a log ride. This is a piece I made that I didn't actually end up using, but as you can see, this is literally just half of a pallet. So this is, let's just say, yeah, this is the middle support, I guess you could say, middle column, and this is a side column. So what I did was just take a sawzall, just saw off close to the edge, and then I had another section of pallet which I took all the ends that I didn't use, stacked them on top of each other, nailed them together, and then luckily they were just about the same height as if I was just to have one of these struts here. So you can tell it's a little wider there, but it all went together pretty simply. Now one thing I'd like to mention is if you get pallets, make sure they're not treated with insecticides, because these pallets are usually stored in warehouses where there's a lot of insects that'll try to eat away at the pallets, and then they usually want the pallets to last as long as possible. So one thing to notice is that some are heat treated instead, which are the ones to go for. So I'll show you a marking that says heat treated on it. So right there, the HT means it's heat treated. At least I think it is, but you get the idea. Another thing to mention is that not all pallets have these really thick cross members, so such as that. So a lot of these are made for heavier weights or something that you know, they want to keep using the pallet more often. Obviously that's going to last longer than this, but just be sure to get something that's reasonable, because some of these can be really thin and they literally flex if you just step on one, and you can even break them by just stepping on them. The coolest thing about this is that it's basically free, and the only thing I really spent money on, I was to spend money on, would be the nails. Assuming you have you know, a sawzall or something that can cut pretty quickly. And another thing is that to make one of these sections only took about like maybe 10 minutes at most if you had to take other supports and, you know, lay them flat sideways like I had to for some of them to make complete sections. You know, it doesn't take that long. So you can make a bunch of these sections, and then, you know, you could probably make a bunch of cool freeride features if you wanted to. Now, I might attempt to try to make some freeride, you know, some freeride features that are elevated with this stuff, but that's going to get pretty difficult, and then it's probably going to start costing money because I probably can't just use pallets to, you know, build supports and stuff like that to keep it elevated. So that's one thing to think about. And also, I don't know how sturdy it's going to be, you know, once you get it that far in the air, and you don't want to have it being tilted and all that stuff. Sometimes it's just better to, you know, throw together your own real freeride stuff out of pressure treated wood. Make sure it's not going to fall apart, you know, because that won't get, I mean, if that gets starts to rot and stuff like that, I mean, it's not going to be safe at all. Especially if it's like, you know, 4 feet in the air or something like that, and then you have a drop or something like that. But for right now, you know, this is pretty cool, I think. One thing to keep in mind if you start making freeride features is that not everything is the same width if you try to do this with pallets. So this is a lot thinner, obviously, than this, even though that section meets that. And this one is a lot thinner than that. So you just got to be careful if you start, you know, stringing them together and trying to make elevated features.